Sorry. Yeah. Namaste. Good evening, everyone. Greetings and welcome to all our participants for this seventh session as part of the IKS certificate course, fourth edition on the storytelling legacy of Bharat. And this is the seventh session where we are exploring the storytelling heritage of Bharat, and I am quite certain that you have received rich and deep insights about Bharat's storytelling legacy from the past six sessions, and we continue to uh, explore further aspects of storytelling in the remaining four sessions, including Dr. Pinku Jha's session today. So before I invite Dr. Pinku Jha to start his session, I just want to share a couple of announcements. Please note that this is the second week of our certificate course, and on Friday, that is 27th, we will have the final session of this certificate course, since we have 10 sessions planned. On the final day of the certificate course, I will be sharing a Google form feedback link with all of you here in the chat box and then subsequently in the WhatsApp group as well. So all the participants are requested to kindly fill that Google form link so that certificate sharing becomes easier. And I will also be sharing some instructions and points for certificates so that you know that we will take a couple of days before your certificates can reach you. So kindly, please do not miss the last session. Of course, needless to say, do not miss any session, but particularly the last session of the certificate course. Another thing is that I've already shared the details of the WhatsApp group that all of us, or some of us at least, are a part of, IKS research enthusiasts, and some of you from this certificate course have also joined this group. So if any of you who wants to join this group and hasn't still, please feel free, more than welcome. It's voluntary. It is an academic WhatsApp group where we are sharing information, updates about everything and anything related to IKS, of course, scholarly and academic only. So conferences, call for papers, webinars, FDPs, work opportunities, scholarships, fellowships, etc. So it's like a one-stop repository for IKS updates and information. So kindly, please feel free to join this group. You can send a request and I will approve it. So with this, we are already on the seventh session of our certificate course, and I would love to hear from all our participants who have regularly attended the previous sessions as to how they have found these sessions and how the experience of this course has been. Of course, you will get to respond in the Google form, but any feedback and sharing will always be very, very helpful. So today's session is by Dr. Pinku Jha, and welcome, Dr. Pinku.
Namaste.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Namaste, namaste, welcome. Pinku is one of our own, and that's why I'm getting habituated to addressing him as Dr. Pinku instead of Pinku, as I used to refer to him earlier. But he has done some wonderful FDPs on the NLD platform, and I hope that he can very soon come back with the Mahābhārata FDP and also probably do a second or a continuing edition of the same. Also, he has done another FDP with two of his colleagues, Dr. Manisha and Dr. Bhumi, on Indian knowledge systems and sustainable development goals. So that is also something that we are looking forward to in the second half of the year, probably. And as I have already shared in the previous session when I was introducing Dr. Pinku and his academic work, has peculiarly and specifically worked on the Mahabharata and the idea of welfare in this epic. And in this particular FDP, he has chosen to focus on the storytelling traditions of the Mahabharata. So, in the last session, he enlightened us about the structure, the Smriti aspect, and the hermeneutical tradition in the Mahabharata. He had put a key question in front of us: what is common, what is binding, and what's the common thread that runs through these three things. And there were answers that we had got. So today I believe, Dr. Pinku, your session is going to be a build up, an extension on your previous session. We'll learn more about storytelling in the Mahabharata, and I truly encourage all our participants to share their questions, doubts, and comments with Dr. Pinku, because as a budding scholar, he will have a fresh and different perspective on many aspects. So, welcome once again, Dr. Pinku, and we'll follow the same pattern like the previous lecture. And I am here moderating the chat box and helping you with any technical stuff and keeping a watch over everything as you proceed. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Namaste, namaste. Namaste to all the participants as well. And again, welcome. I welcome you all for this session, which is going to be on, again, Mahabharata itself, the storytelling in the Mahabharata. And particularly, we will be talking about performative traditions and textual retellings of the Mahabharata. Since Madam has given a small gist of my previous session also, where we were discussing about the hermeneutics and the Katha tradition of the Mahabharata, where we were talking about like there is something called like some connecting thread among all these aspects of Mahabharata, where we were discussing like the very essence is about ekam sa pipra bahuda vadanti is very much visible in the text and the tradition of Mahabharata. That means there is, maybe we can say the essence is one. We can talk about dharma as the essential core of it, but the way different people, different traditions, different sub traditions, we can say, they all were representing the text itself in multiple ways. So that essence, that core is going to be discussed today with the help of two important things. The first one is the performative traditions of Mahabharata, and second one is the textual retellings of the Mahabharata. And why these two things? Since we are talking about Mahabharata as a tradition, as a text, as an epic, as a text of narratives, so to what extent it has that scope of looking at multiple perspectives together. So that is going to be our main concern for today's session. And before we begin with today's session, I would also like to share that since I have asked two questions in previous session, one was related to just a minute. Am I able to?
Yeah, Dr. Pinku, I just wanted to request you to drag that black Google thing down.
Yes.
हाँ, उसको और भी हम अगर नीचे लेके जा सके तो ठीक है.
Let me try that.
हाँ, बस ठीक है, बढ़िया है, बढ़िया है. You can check if your slides are moving or not.
Yeah, I'm just checking that thing once. अगर वो ठीक से हो जाता है तो we can just continue with this. So basically what I was about to do will be just having, yeah, is it fine now?
Yeah, what is happening? Can you drag it to that part of the?
Yeah, just a minute. I'm just, yeah, is it fine now?
Perfect. This is perfect. We are able to read, and yeah, let's go ahead.
So before we are going to, yeah, so I'm not able to see anything as of now.
Don't worry. I am your eyes and ears.
You, ma'am. So you just let me know, stop me wherever it is required, so that I can, if it is required, I can engage with the participants also. And again, also a request to all the participants to be an active participant. So if I am speaking something, I would like to, say this. I'm expecting also from all the participants to have a constant engagement with the whatever I'm speaking, not just in terms of maybe conversation as if now, but maybe we can just have our doubts, our queries, our comments in the chat box, as we have done in our previous sessions also. So yes, this is the particular slide where I have just written this thing, that the responses to the question. So it was very I was amazed to say that when I was asking this question, that these two questions I have asked, almost 12 to 13 people have responded to this. So till yesterday, or I guess day before yesterday, I have received these some of the responses from the individuals, the participants. I have written their name also on the slide. So I'm very much specifically, I would like to appreciate all the efforts, all the viewpoints you have provided to me through the mail on these two questions. So Shrija ji, Sambit ji, Palash ji, Usha ji, Meena ji, Suman ji, Dr. Geeta Lakhotra ji, Dr. Joby Joseph ji, Shri Vijay Kumar ji, Dr. Kalpesh Parmar ji, Shri Sumant ji, and Sapna Sharma ji. I have received all these responses. Maybe some responses are missed out also due to they have submitted assignment after day before yesterday, so I could not add their name. But one of the very common thing I have found, the first question that was about the misunderstood character. So I have almost found everybody has written Karn, like whosoever has responded to this question. So it is something uh, very astonishing to see that Karna as a character who has been who has been portrayed in a very misunderstood way, and all of you have given different reasons to it. And I want to specifically mention one of the responses given by Sri Sumant ji. His response was different from the other responses. Like there are two different ways in which Karna's misunderstood character has been reflected. This is what all of you have said. Like one group of people, like most of them are saying that he has been portrayed very negatively, despite of having the a very important character who has been just considered as a devil character, but it is not the thing actually. But on the other hand, Sumanji is particularly mentioning the another side, that no, he was doing something which is against the essential feature of Mahabharata, that is the dharma. So whatever he has done, he has been portrayed in some of the local narratives or folk traditions as a hero. That is, to some extent, it does not mean that is wrong. But as Vyasa's original text, sometimes we refer to the Bhandarkar Oriental Institute's critical edition, where we have, if we discuss is that, we do have a lot of reasons to say that Karna, from the very foundation, he has been a good character, no doubt. But the very basic action that led him to as a negative character, it is justified in the Vyasa's version, or maybe Boris version. So this is something I have found, that all of you have given your own perspective while justifying it from the different viewpoints. So this is very interesting thing, and I really, again, I would like to appreciate all of you, and I would also like to ask all the participants to, we can have a emoji based clapping again, for everybody, all those who have made this attempt to answer this question. And now the answer to the second question, that was victory or loss. So some of you have also responded to this question, where we had a very mixed bag of answers, we can say. And even some of you have clearly said it is not just about victory or loss, rather than it's a contextual understanding of dharma itself. So it is a story of dharma, and it is somehow not just a linear understanding or a binary understanding of victory or loss. So that was another kind of response I have received. And these viewpoints, these tellings, like how you understand Mahabharata with the help of one character only, with the objective of this text itself. So it helps us to understand how within this particular course itself we are having different viewpoints. But yes, somewhere we are trying to align our viewpoints also. Like this is how majority of us are do have this kind of doubt, like why do we consider Khan as a villain, or why do we need to have a better perspective about the Khan. So these viewpoints, it is very important to see. I hope that this exercise made you to think in that way. And now if we are discussing this also, so maybe it has also added another level of view or maybe perspective to our own understanding. So this was the one part that we could have we actually did this kind of exercise, and it helped us to understand the narrative structure of this Mahabharata itself. And here we have to connect to our today's question that we are going to discuss, that have you encountered the story? Since all of you have discussed Karn, all of you have mentioned about Karn, so what is the source? So is it through the story of through the TV, or some maybe performances, some oral storytelling, or maybe the some of the textual readings we have made? So what is the source of it? Not just in terms of just Karna, I am saying, in terms of other stories also. So where do we have that kind of perspective about any character, any incident, or any kind of story connected to Mahabharata? So those possible ways we are going to discuss today. Like, what are the possible ways? So I'm sure all of you have mentioned about Karn, and you must have had a different sources to justify your own claims or your own understanding. So I hope I'm making sense whatever I'm just trying to explain as if now. And now we'll move to today's basic foundational understanding. So the introduction, if we are coming to this, so we can start talking about this thing, that this is not a static text. It is not something that is unilinear, or it is just unidimensional text. No, it is not like that. It has a dynamic cultural tradition. So that dynamic cultural tradition, where it is coming through actually, so it is transmitted through different ways. As I am just I was telling about it, that there are different methods or different patterns we can observe, through which we can understand the dynamic cultural tradition of the Mahabharata. So the very first one is, yes, oral storytelling traditions. Then we have folk theater, folk music, folk art, we can say. Then we can have dance and ritual performances, rituals related to some, maybe some festivals or something related to that. Those performances can be other way of transmitting the stories of Mahabharata. Then we have literary retellings, such as not just talking about critical editions, rather than their adaptations, right? How different modern Indian political thinkers, they have retold the story of Mahabharata. How different poets have reframe the essence of Mahabharata in their poetries, right? So that would be the literary retellings. And then we have modern media adaptations, where I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of movies, a lot of serials connected to the Mahabharata. So what we are going to do today, we'll try to discuss some of the examples related to all these aspects, right? With some or other story or ways through which we can understand, yes, this is a proper way of understanding Mahabharata through different mediums, right? The essence will be same, Mahabharata की story को ही समझना है, पर अलग-अलग तरीकों से. And those अलग तरीके, those different methods will help you to understand this dynamic nature of the text, right? So it provides a kind of continuum between oral culture at the one side, and on the other side, the textual preservation has been done with this thing only, right? And we sometimes, some scholars are telling it as a tradition in performance, where storytelling becomes a medium for transmitting ethical, political, philosophical ideas. Since it is not just a narrative in a sense that we are having story, plot, and all these things that we have discussed in previous session also on the Mahabharata, rather than it has some values attached to it. So if I am telling you some story, it does have this ethical value, it has the political value, it has the philosophical value. So again, it is not just talking about one value, but from the perspective, from the knowledge that we are having, or the readings that we are having, we can interpret in a different ways. So this is going to be today's exercise, right? So just to have a small affirmation from the participants, like, am I going fine? Is it making sense whatever I'm just saying? Just let me know, Nidhi ma'am, so that I can move further.
Sure. Yes. I have received one confirmation, but I'm looking for more confirmations and more responses. So I
Yeah,
hope
you
so
can
far.
just have thumbs up so I can move
Yeah, yeah.
for the
Just give a
slides.
thumbs up. Okay,
Yeah.
great, great, great. And as I told, as I've already shared in the chat box, you need not wait for your to post your question or ask your question right till the end. The chat box is open, so
Yes.
please feel free to engage through the chat box.
Yes. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. So we can go to next slide here. We are going to focus on some of the oral and performative traditions. So if I am talking about it, what does it mean basically? So in the Mahabharata itself, we were talking about this reference of Ugrasrava, right? We were talking the Sutas, right? The bards, the people who were having the recitation of stories, right? With the oral medium, right? Before written text that we are having today, it has been transmitted through the oral tradition, right? And the people who are doing it, they used to be called as bards, the Sutas, right? So what does it mean? Like, what are the basic features of oral transmission? It is the narrative flexibility we are having. It is not fixed, right? That flexibility is a very common feature of oral transmission, not just in terms of Mahabharata, I am saying, rather than the Upanishads or maybe other textual sources or textual knowledge that India is having. And not just in India, even other indigenous traditions of the world, they do have this method of oral transmission, right? And they do have the flexibility as a narrative flexibility. Then it has the regional adaptation. If it is flexible, it will have an automatic, adaptation in regional terms, right? And yes, it has a very important part, that is the audience participation. If I am having some oral transmission, if I'm telling you something, if I'm narrating a story, it is not just one way, rather than it is going to be two-way process, or even the people are going to have their interaction, their questions, their direct involvement in the storytelling. That would be another way in the oral transmission, which is not there in the written format, more or less, right? Then we have an emphasis on dramatic movements and the moral dilemmas. So how I'm going to present it, right? That along with the moral dilemmas I'm going to pose. So I'll be having some questions in between while I'm presenting something, some stories, a dilemma I'll try to create among the people who are listening to me, so that they will start thinking, they'll try to connect something, right? So that would be another feature of oral transmission. So particularly in the Mahabharata, if we are saying, we do have this reference of Ugrasrava, as we were talking about it, right? To the sages, Ugrasrava was narrating the story of Mahabharata, which he himself has heard at the another yagya, at the Vaishampayana, with the Vaishampayan's help, right? So that is something, the structure within the text, the storytelling is being said, and the structure is not just inside some stories being heard or people are telling it. Rather, it has helped us to narrate different form of stories to different groups, right? Further, so कहानी के अंदर भी story चल रही है, और the text के अंदर भी कहानी है, और text के बाहर भी कहानी है. So that is the very distinctive feature of the text of Mahabharata. So yes, if we'll come to this part, this major performative traditions of Mahabharata. So this photo, you can see there is a particular video also, but that is something you can just go, on YouTube also you'll be getting it. It is going to be example of a Kathakali, right? So where we have a kind of visual storytelling through gestures and facial expressions. So you must be knowing this Kathakali is one of the dance art, we can say, drama, dance, music combined together, and this particular art is being very much popular in the region of Kerala. So where this particular picture is signifying a particular performance called Kalyana Sungakam. So it is basically a story based on Mahabharata only, where Bhima and the Hanuman, when they are meeting, right? Both of them are sons of Vayu, Pavanaputra, right? So their particular interaction is being somehow shown in this particular performance, where Draupadi, the Panchali, right? She was talking about this flower and she asked Bhima to go and bring that particular flower. And at that time, Hanuman is meeting Bhima, and what kind of samvad is going on there, and what kind of interaction is going to be there. That is being narrated through this particular performance of Kathakali in the Kathakali, with the name of this particular Kalyana Asunga Sagandhika, is particular flower name, right? So this is somehow we can see this has been narrated with this particular dance. So this is how Bhima is going down to Hanumana. So this particular part is being shown. This particular picture I have just put it here, right? But you can also see the whole performance on YouTube as well, right? So this is one particular example of performative tradition, we can say, where visual storytelling based on this Mahabharata story is being presented, right? Then we have a very important part, that is Yakshagana, right? Yakshagana is, again, it is popular in the Karnataka. this particular video will be seeing later on, so you can also remind me if I'll skip, maybe I'll forget it. So this is the Yakshagana, is going to be another art form, another theater form, we can say. This is very much popular in the Karnataka. Then we have one important part. This is Terukuttu. This is basically a performance which is made in a public. So it is not just a stage performance as compared to Kathakali or Yakshagana. It is more or less, done as temple festivals, is being more or less, it is being performed there, right? So this is another kind of performance. We are having this in Tamil Nadu. It is very much popular there, right? So these traditions show how the epic becomes a community cultural experience rather than a silent text. So it is no more just a text, rather than it has been presented to the people, right, in their regional language. The language is very much connecting to the people of that region, right? So I'm sure a lot of you are from, maybe you must have seen also maybe one or another performance. If not, you'll have a lot of examples in the YouTube also. We can have look at those things, right? So one of the example we'll be seeing together also on Yakshagana in the later part of our session. But yeah, this is somehow some specific folk traditions, we can say theater traditions of the Mahabharata based stories, right? This is something which help us to understand how a particular epic becomes a community cultural experience. So it is not just talk about what is inside the Mahabharata as a text, rather than it has been it has started talking to the people. So that is very important, right? So now if we come to this narrative storytelling tradition, where we are not just having performance in terms of some dance performance or theater performance, rather than some kind of professional storytellers. We have some devotional narrators. They reinterpret the epic through oral narrations. So you can see this particular picture where this artist named Tijan Baiji, she's from Chhattisgarh, and this particular art, what she's trying to present, it is called Pandavani, right? So Pandavani is basically based on, again, the stories of Pandav, right? So again, it's a folk theater, we can say, which is more or less popular in Chhattisgarh, Odisha also, right? So
Yeah,
this,
Dr. Pinku, can I quickly interrupt you for 30 seconds?
yes, please, ma'am, please.
So in yesterday's session with Dr. Vikas, we were joined by Linima Sahu from Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh, and
Ji.
she is a PhD scholar studying the oral storytelling folk traditions of Chhattisgarh, and she spoke at great length about the Pandavani tradition. She spoke about its roots, the different shailis and the different artists of this tradition. And it was very, very interesting yesterday because she's from Chhattisgarh and she's studying this tradition. So I'll share yesterday's recording with you where you can quickly go through this particular part where she's talking about Pandavani. So
Perfect.
yesterday we did manage to discuss Pandavani at great length.
This is really something very interesting. Yeah, and it is very important to see somebody from the region, and if they are presenting it, maybe that kind of very, we can say, the connectivity or the whatever I'm explaining, or maybe I'm having the experience of seeing, or maybe having the to see that kind of performance, it helps us to understand it more a better way. So yes, so this is something we can have the narrative storytelling thing. So we can just see how storytelling, music, philosophy, moral commentary is being explained through this set of storytelling traditions. Then we have very important part. This is about the ritual and the festival performances. So here what we are going to discuss, particularly one particular yeah. So in many regions, we see that some of the stories of Mahabharata, we can see two pictures are there. At the left side, we have a lady who is walking on this, we can say, the fire walk she's doing here. And on the right side, there is again, this attire, a person is dancing. So these are two important aspects connected to this festival called Draupadi Amman festival. It's in Tamil Nadu. It is very much popular there, right? So what we do have, like in this particular festival, we have considered Draupadi as an Amma as a goddess, right? So the story that we are having in the Mahabharata is having, or maybe the text that is in the mainstream, we do have different ways of looking at the text, right? But here what we are seeing, it is considered a Kul Devi or or maybe we can say somebody who has been considered as not just a wife of Draupadi, rather as a protector of Pandavas, a goddess of war. So all these interpretations has been profoundly impacted the region, right? So they do have this festival where uh, people who are devoted to Draupadi Amma also follow 3 month cycles of ritual. Different rituals are being performed in this region, and priests and devotees, they recite different Mahabharata chapter by chapter, and they are having daily worship. And this particular fire walking ceremony is called Timithi, right? So they do that, and since they believe that Draupadi is somebody who born out of that fire, and that fire is something, yeah, that courage, that power, right? So to bow down to respect that particular character in that way, not just a character but just as a goddess, right? It is very much important that they give much emphasis to this particular ceremony, right? Then we have a particular village street that comes to the some of the folk theater, we can say, on the right side. This is again enacting some of the Draupadi's life story, and it is called a Thirukuthu. In the previous slide also we were talking about it. So this is particularly the art of presenting, celebrating the whole festival. So for us it is considered as one of the way we can talk about it, some political figure or some other kind of narrative style we are talking about in that way, right? But here when we are talking about in Mahabharata, whatever is being there, like what are the characters we are having, so they do have a different kind of significance in a wider form, right? So this is again something, during Pallav's dynasty, if you go to the history, it has been started from there only, right? So this is again a very long tradition we are having in this form at the Tamil Nadu region, right? So this is again an interesting activity, or maybe we can say a ritual based performance that is being celebrated based on again Mahabharata or story of Mahabharata, right? And then we have another interesting example, like not just one example, but two different examples we are having. So one is the Pandav Leela. So it is again related to the Garhwal's region of Uttarakhand. So here what we do have a tradition of Pandav Nritya. So we can see the first picture, which is almost, here we can see the Krishna and Radha, they are dancing, and in the background, the people in the circle, they are also celebrating, they are also dancing. So this particular dance is considered to be a ritual to thank, to give a kind of we can say they respect the Kul Devata for ensuring their good health, well-being, harvest. So that is something very important to see, that how they are through one of the stories, they also with this Pandav Nritya, they have this kind of story, that the songs they are making, it is again to thank not just the with this help, different Pandavas are being thanked with this help. So Kul Devata for ensuring our good health, well-being, and harvest. So this is how Pandav Leela in Garhwal region is again based on the stories, or maybe they have interpreted the Mahabharata in their own way. So that is how again they are trying to connect with the stories, right? So this is one example. On the other hand, we'll see in this old picture, you can see there are 5 different people are sitting, and some instrumentalists are also there. So this particular picture is showing this Pando ka Kada. So this is again in Rajasthan, we have different storytelling events. So we do have some oral art tradition, different traditions are being narrated there, and they are also trying to discuss it in different ways. So we have one part as a cover Banchana, which is again a wooden shrine storytelling, which is one part, and in which different kind of we can say the portable wooden shrines are being made, and through which they are telling different stories of Mahabharata. And the other one is the Panduka Kada, which is a recitation by Jogi and Miu communities. So very interesting part about this particular storytelling, we can say this Pandoka Kada is about how different ways are being narrated, different stories, right? If we are talking about for example, the people who are presenting this, they belongs to a Muslim community, or they sometimes identify them as a jogi, right? So in Rajasthan, what we are seeing, that the people who are maybe having this thing, they have some doha, they have some songs on that particular Pandav story, and how they interpreted different narratives they present related to Mahabharata. So with this help, they are also trying to connect with different communities, right? So it is not just about one community that is being somehow connected to this Mahabharata, and the all inclusive nature of the text, how it has been, being considered, and how it provides a way to connect ourselves to the region, to the Bharat, to the Rashtra, or to the, maybe we can say that, connecting our nation with us, right? Something, some, kind of, these ways are very much important when we are talking about these storytellings, right? So it is not just something for the purpose of entertainment that we were talking about in our previous session. Also, we have discussed about katha, how katha is important for us, right? So these patterns, these methods are helping us to, alive, to kept alive us, right? To have this traditional oral arts, it helps us to understand, to celebrate our own life with different viewpoints, right? So these are a few examples we can see, right? I hope I'm making sense whatever we are discussing. Maybe it has some kind of connectivity, or maybe it is being somehow understood in a fine manner. So if it is fine, we can come to another slide. So ma'am, just let me know if everything is going fine.
Yes, yes. There are, you have shared some very fascinating examples, Dr. Pinku, of the performative tradition, of the oral traditions, the dance rituals around the Mahabharata. And we do have a comment from, just a moment, from Swayamji. And if Swayamji is around and if she can unmute and share her insights, she has shared it particularly from the context of Odisha. So, Swayamji, would you like to share it with everyone by unmuting yourself?
Good evening, sir and ma'am.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Swayamji.
Actually, I was trying to tell you, can I speak both in English and Hindi?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
please.
yes, please feel free. And if you want, you can also teach us a word of two of Odia.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, actually, if we talk about these oral storytellings or these performances based on Mahabharata and Ramayana or any other kind of ancient legends or folk tales, we can see that from Odisha, we have heard from our grandmothers, then from grandfathers or those old people that they used to watch Palla and Daskatia. These are two common terms. Palla, one is Palla and the other one is Daskatia. And in Palla and Daskatia, there is a kind of show actually. Means a few people would be gathered and they would stand in front of the audience and they would perform or they would recite or they would orally present some of the stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata. Then there is another storytelling oral tradition that is we can say like sir told from in Rajasthan also. They have that they are playing some musical instruments and they were called yogi or something like that. Sir
Yes.
told just now.
Kawad
Yes,
Indian.
tradition.
yes, yes. So we have also those kind of people. They belong to tribal communities sometimes, and also to the Nath communities,
Yes.
Munda communities, Santal communities, and actually they were the aborigines or they are the original people of Odisha. So
Mm.
they used to sing by using a bamboo string instrument that is called kendra, and those oral recitings are done through songs. Means they used to recite everything through songs. That was called kendra gita, or they would like to present some stories by playing that kendra instrument and reciting their narration. So through that also there was oral storytelling traditions. Then we can come to the performances. There was we can see in the ancient culture in Odisha we have Giti Natya. In English we can also call it as a verse drama. VERAC, verse drama. So
Mm.
we can see also in that kind of verse drama they were also staged in during the ancient period. There were no theaters actually, so they used to make their own stages and they performed on that only. They used to choose a particular story from Ramayana and Mahabharata and they used to stage it in the form of a verse drama. So that's all, sir. And ma'am,
Yeah,
yeah, thank you.
very nice, interesting.
Yes, very interesting insights by Swayamji. When I was reading her comment in the chat box, that's when I wanted to request her to speak. And these particular traditions, which are very specific to Odisha, which
Yes,
she
ma'am.
has shared, are interesting, and that's the whole point of regional storytelling, or storytelling that is authentic to the ground, closer to the region
Hmm.
where you live in. And I think all of us can now understand and appreciate the diversity that Bharatiya storytelling has been endowed with. I mean, you can just expand your uh, cognitive abilities and try to think of how the same epic, the same story, as in the broad storyline, remains the same, with the same characters, um, uh, has been put forth in so many different ways, through oral traditions, through performative traditions, through literary retellings, through folk performances, through theater performances. And now, of course, we see that modern day storytellers are trying to cash on our ancient epics by bringing the stories onto television screens, the cinematic screen, the OTT screen. मतलब आप सोचिए, अगर आप आज कोई ये देखते हैं, ओटीटी सीरीज देखते हैं, कल डॉक्टर विकास ने काफी विस्तार से, डिटेल में सिनेमा ओटीटी माध्यम की बात की थी, एंड हाउ इट इज स्टिल फॉलोइंग आवर श्रुति स्मृति परंपरा. तो कई बार हम देखते हैं, जैसे राजनीति फिल्म जो है, अभी मुझे पता नहीं कितने लोग यहाँ पे हिंदी फिल्में देखते हैं, बट इफ यू हैव watched this film, Ranbir Kapoor, Katrina Kaif, Arjun Rampal, Rajniti, the way the entire plot unfolds, it does give you some glimpses and some hints of the power struggle that ensues in the Mahabharata. It is quite interesting how one epic, with its broad message and characters, spread and was remembered, was internalized, and was also then performed in different parts of the country in different way. I mean, we have Pandwani in Chhattisgarh, and then we have Pala and Das Kathia in Odisha. We have Kawad tradition in Rajasthan. Just imagine the variety, the diversity, the richness. I mean, we are truly a plural culture. We are truly multicultural, not just linguistically, but we are also truly uh, multi-faith, multicultural. We embody diversity in so many aspects that sometimes we take it for granted. I believe we don't appreciate it as much as we should. And I'd like to share a small anecdote here, if Dr. Pinku allows me to do that very, very quickly. So I
Yes.
was sitting at and this is just to break the monotony of our interaction. I was sitting at the Mumbai airport a few years ago, and I had a chance encounter with a Belgian lady. And when I got talking to her, she told me that she visited Gujarat, and she visited Maharashtra and a couple of other states. And she said she was amazed and blown away by the linguistic diversity of our country. So she asked me how many dialects do we have in Gujarat. So I said, okay, North Gujarat has a different dialect, Kutch has a different dialect, Saurashtra has a different dialect, South Gujarat has a different dialect. And she said in her country, Belgium, there are only three languages: French, Dutch, and Flemish, if I'm correct. And she said that people are fighting over the prominence and superiority of only three languages. They want separate states for people speaking these three separate languages. And she said, I truly appreciate India, because despite the diversity and vast landscape of languages in your country, I mean, इन गुजराती में हम कहते हैं कि हर 100 किलोमीटर पे बोली बदल जाती है, ठीक है. So she said she was amazed and she appreciated that we were not fighting over our languages, we coexisted. And that this incident has always stayed with me. So now when I can speak 7 languages myself, I'm a polyglot. So I think we should sometimes, when we encounter somebody who doesn't belong to culture, our tradition, we tend to appreciate their perspective on our culture, and they make us understand the value of our traditions. Yeah. So I think we can hand over to Dr. Pinku, and thank you, Swayamji, for that insight. I think Odisha is one state that is on my travel list very soon.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So yes, thank you so much, Swayamji, for sharing a story from the Odisha, this retelling how in Odisha Mahabharata is being narrated, what kind of ways through which we hear the stories from the Mahabharata. So that is a very interesting point. And yes, we do have even a lot of other states for sure. Like in India, we do have not the state I'm saying, but different regions, they do have different ways of looking at it, right? So yes, through maybe going further with this thing, not just performances that we just have discussed in different regions, different locations of India. That is one thing, and how they are narrating stories of Mahabharata that we have done. Now we'll try to come to some of the literary retellings. We can say the textual retellings of the Mahabharata also, right? So some of the examples we can see from the Andhra. This is Andhra Mahabharatam in Telugu that is written. Then we have Kumar Vyasa Bharata, which is very much prevalent in Karnataka. Then we have an interesting example from Bengal, that is Kashi Ram Das's Mahabharata. So Kashi Ram writes the story of Mahabharata, which is
Pinku
where
sir,
obviously, sorry,
sorry to interrupt you, but it's not Telugu, it is Telugu.
sorry,
LU
sorry.
also is there.
I'm
Yes,
very
sir.
sorry. Yeah,
It's okay, sir. No
thank
problem.
you.
But
Thank
generally,
you.
it's like that. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for correcting me. Yeah.
Please.
So yes, so we have from we can see this Andhra Mahabharatam, Kumar Vyasa's Bharat. Then in Bengal we have this Kashi Ram Das's Mahabharata, which is in a way retold in a structure is being very, it has been not exactly what we are having today, that 1 lakh verses are there. Rather than it's a very smaller version we can find, which is less philosophical and more about something that the stories or narratives are not just talking about the philosophy. For example, the Bhagavad Gita's part, that is the conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjun, it has been not much given emphasis in this particular version of Kashi Ram's Mahabharata. So that is their way of retelling the Mahabharata. Then if we'll come to some other folk traditions, particularly the Bhil's tradition, which is the again a community, a tribal community, which is very much prevalent in Rajasthan and some of the areas of Gujarat also. So they do have their own version of Mahabharata, right? And where the story is being somehow starts with some kind of like how Bhil communities are looking at it, right? So not just Bhil community, but in general, we can say the representation of tribal people. So this tradition is very much, they do have some of the complete uh, disassociation to the mainstream story of Mahabharata. So it has their own distinctive way of looking at Mahabharata. Then in Garhwal Himalaya, we do have different views, right? Again, there's another Bengali translation, which is Kavi Sanjay's Bengali translation, which is dated back to 15th century. And then we have some of the other versions, such as Ezuthachachan's Mahabharata, Kilipattu in Malayalam, then Pampa in Kannada. Like these are some of the other versions of Mahabharata. Again, a new retellings, we can say, the way they are looking at it. So they do have some of the minor or maybe major differences from the what exactly the stories we are having today in the Mahabharata. And not just talking about Indian versions, rather than when we are talking Mahabharata, we do have almost, for example, Bori acknowledges almost uh, we have 1559 almost versions are there, of manuscripts are there of Mahabharata across India, not just India, but even Southeast Asia. So particularly in Indonesia, I feel come to see that how Mahabharata is being adapted there. So there is this particular puppetry tradition, right, that is of Voying Kulit, we say. So this picture on this slide also, we can see this is again a puppetry form of shadow puppetry basically. So this is again a form of presenting stories from the Mahabharata. So it is very much prevalent in Indonesia. So these all retellings are actually helping, not just these textual retellings, but even the performances or performance based art that has been associated to the stories of Mahabharata. They actually provide us to understand that how those complex narratives, all those stories, all those mainstream, uh, maybe we can say philosophical understanding of Mahabharata is not just something to be considered as some very only way of looking at it, but it need to be reached to the people. So how it is possible? So that uh, through these retellings, through these all adaptations, we are having this we can say ability to understand things in a more simplified manner. So it helps us to simplify the complex narratives of Mahabharata from your own perspective, right? Then we have we have a lot of things, a lot of songs, a lot of devotional ways of looking at it. So they do have all these retellings are very much associating their things, the rituals, as we were talking about this Draupadi Amma festival. So these things are helping us to focus on the devotional themes as well. And yes, it somehow help us to understand how adapting stories to regional cultures, right? So in Bengal, we have a different culture, we can say. In Kerala, we have a different culture, or maybe some other regions. In Rajasthan, we do have a different culture. So how to look at while looking at their own culture, how they are trying to reinterpret, how not just interpreting, how to retell, how to make stories vibrant, how to make it uh, able to connect to the people. So that is the main concern of all these retellings. Fine. So these are another examples we are just trying to discuss. Now we are coming to some modern literary and other adaptations, not just in terms of literary part, but yes, also in terms of we can say media adaptations, we can say the movies, right, some plays. So with some of the examples now we are going to discuss. This picture where you can see three ladies are sitting, they are Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, right? So uh, particularly with the help of Peter Brook's Mahabharata, when we were having as madam was Nidhi ma'am has shared that we had some FDPs on Mahabharata earlier also. So where we were, I have suggested to all the participants to please look at this Mahabharata, the film, a small film we can say, which is 3 hour film. It is also available on YouTube, directed by Peter Brook. So in 1985, 1989 actually, it came as a film of Mahabharata, which was earlier designed as a play, we can say stage production. Fine. So here we'll coming to this particular part in a while. We will come to this thing, but yeah, we'll start from the first point, which you can see the Yuganta, the end of an epoch by Iravati Kane, where we see that how these stories of Mahabharata, right, they have been, as we already have discussed, in different culture, different regions, they have been interpreted, they have been retold in different ways to the people. So we can feel a connectivity with the story. We can have our life is being connected to the stories of Mahabharata, as we were talking about this Pandav Nritya in Uttarakhand, or maybe all these examples. So that is how we are trying to connect ourselves to the stories of Mahabharata. That is one thing. But on the other thing, we'll see it as a guiding force, or in a way we can have some literary modifications, right? Because Mahabharata itself is a very, we can say very beautiful art or beautiful contribution to the literature, right? So how in modern times scholars or people, they have started working on it, right? So this particular novel that talks about Draupadi's perspective of Mahabharata, so that is on Yuganta. So you can, all the participants can, I am sure some of you have also read it, but yes, this would be a good way of looking at it, how in a different way they put forward the perspective of Draupadi, right? That is one thing. On the other hand, we have Mrityunjay, the Death Conqueror, where the story, or maybe you can say perspective of Karna, as a lot of you have discussed the how we see Karna in Mahabharata. So this particular literary work can help you to have more insights to this particular example, which is written by Shivaji Sawan. And now one of the very interesting and one of my favorite, we can say, version, that is Mahabharata Unraveled by one of the literary scholar of I am also, she has worked, she was associated to I am earlier. She's Ami Ganatra. She has been working on a lot of Indian knowledge tradition forms and their text particularly. So she has worked on both the epics Mahabharata and Ramayana in her own way, and she tried to come up with all she wanted. She actually deconstruct a lot of narratives that has been propounded to, maybe we can say, a lot of myths those are associated to Mahabharata and the Ramayana. So this would be a very interesting way of looking at Mahabharata and Ramayana from a unique perspective, which actually has a lot of authenticity attached to it also. So we can have her work also. Then I would like to mention one of the poetry, since we are talking about the modern literary adaptations. So not just modern in terms of 21st century, I'm talking about it, but one of the, we can say, nationalist or the Rashtra Kavi, we see usually national poet of India, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. So in Hindi, he has written a good piece of poetry, which is on this Krishna ki Chetavani, that you must have heard of all those incidents that has happened when Sri Krishna went to pacify the war, or maybe to stop the war before beginning. So a kind of diplomat role he was playing at the court of Kauravas, right? So how that narrative is being framed by a poet, it is very interesting to note. We can have the reading of that poetry, where that all the attempts that Krishna makes to come forward with having establishing peace, was somehow it was not being successful, and how Sri Krishna answers to that particular effort and all those incidents of that particular court. So that is being somehow narrated by Dinkar in that poetry. So we can have look to that particular poetry as well. And then we'll come to one of the novel, very interesting play basically, that is Andha Yug. So it was written by Dr. Dharmavir Bharati, again at the Hindi play, where the final day of Mahabharata war. So what happened there, and what was the kind of existential crisis the people who characters were facing, the consequences of war. So all those specific themes were mentioned in that play, and it is very interesting to see, very beautifully crafted by the Dharmavir Bharati. So we can have a look at this particular play also, which is again another way of looking at modern literary adaptation of the stories of Mahabharata. And yes, now this particular work by Peter Brook. So this particular picture, when we're saying Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, so they are a few characters. Again, we have a lot of stories related to these characters, and yes, particularly related to Amba. So in this particular work of Mahabharata, what is distinctive about it? So the very first thing is, when we are talking Mahabharata, it is not just about regional initiatives. We are talking about how regional groups or communities have presented it, but also we have to see how it has been seen by the global audience, right? So this particular attempt by Peter Brook has somehow, we will not say that it is the best way of looking at it, but yes, something which has tried to connect, right? So that Indian epic has provided a space, or it has been provided through this movie, or through this, we can say, we were having at the same time, you will see in Indian context also, we were having that serial on Mahabharata, right? So almost on the similar period, we see this coming with this particular stage production of Mahabharata by Peter Brook, where very using minimalist aesthetic, we have a lot of international cast from all over the world, from not just India. There is one character which was the Draupadi's character, which was portrayed by one of the Indian artists also. Only she is the one of the classical dancer of Indian, we can say, performance or performative art. So she is one of the character who is Indian, but other different characters from different regions, different continents of the globe, they are equally participating in this whole story, this whole performance. So it has provided a beauty to the whole structure. So it has the more focus on the humanistic kind of conflicts rather than the religious spectacle. So all these aspects were somehow highlighted with this particular movie. So this is something very new thing we can have, to look at this particular way also, that how at the global level our epic, our narrative is being presented. So this is something very interesting, and I recommend you to please go and watch this movie also. So these are a few examples of modern literary and other adaptations we can see when it comes to Mahabharata, and how it has been performed, how it has been written, how it has been rewritten by some of the scholars, some of the people who were engaging, who are trying to engage with this tradition. Fine. So in the last, what I would like to tell you, or maybe we can come to the discussion, that whatever we have discussed as of now, why it is important, and how it is helping us to understand that this Mahabharata has contributed to the storytelling tradition of India, right? So both the ways, the performative and the textual retellings, with both the ways we have seen that narratives, the hermeneutics, right, the Katha tradition, all these things were very much, reflected, right, and they have been presented in different ways. So it actually helps us to understand that yes, when we are saying Mahabharata is not just a text, it is not just a we can say epic, it is not just a literary work, rather than in the words of A.K. Ramanujan, one of again the scholar who has said specifically that Mahabharata is a living narrative tradition, and Mahabharata itself is a tradition. So there is a group of traditions. Since we talk about we have liberal tradition, we have Marxist tradition, we usually call about all these things. So Mahabharata itself is having a tradition where, since we have discussed that there is in Vedic time, in Rig Veda, there is this particular story of Dasharaj Yuddha. Only 10 kings were fighting, right? And that small story has took the form of Mahabharata. And later on, we see all these performances, all these literary versions, they have provided an ample number of ways of looking at a text. So it becomes a tradition itself. So it is no longer just a small war, or it is not just something related to just a Kurukshetra, right? It has a set of values attached to it, a set of interpretations attached to it, right? However, again, focusing on the essential feature of dharma has to be there, right? So this is how living narrative tradition makes it helpful to understand, to connect with storytelling tradition of India to the our picture, right? And then when it comes to the another point, when we are saying that how it is helpful, storytelling serves a vehicle of cultural memory, as the smriti we were talking about in previous sessions also. So how Mahabharata has provided all the scope, all the possibilities to look at things, look at to the things in a way that it helps us to understand the cultural memory. So if we are talking about this Draupadi Amma festival, it helps us to understand, form a kind of memory, right? We all are connected. If we are, are going, there's no division in society. Everybody is equally taking the part in that particular tradition. So that is how the community form, that the cultural memory help us to understand our own features, right? If who exactly are we, right? How we are associating ourselves to the larger identity of ours, right? So that is how it helps us to understand a vehicle of cultural memory. And then it is also helping us to reflect to new ethical and social interpretations, that how at the global level, how at the regional level, how we are connecting, right, region to the nation to the globe. So this Mahabharata help us to provide some new ethical versions, new social interpretations, right, to look at our own lifestyle, right? And then yes, coming to the last point, which is somehow talking about the performances, all the performances that we already have mentioned, a lot of performances I'm sure that you must be having in your mind also. So we can mention those things in the chat box also, right? So how these things have helped us to understand this epic is being transformed into collective experiences. So sometimes what we see, like Mahabharata as a text, if we are looking at it, so it came out of a smriti aspect, right? Out of a cultural memory, it becomes a text. Over a period of time, it took the form of maybe different performances, right? Different literary versions. And later on, it has again started guiding to the new way, like it again framed a new form of collective experiences that we are having. So it starts from the culture, it starts from a collective experiences only, and it helped us to expand our horizon. It helped us to understand how or in what ways we all are connected to each other. So that kind of connectivity, that kind of inclusiveness, that kind of accommodative nature of Indic tradition is being very much reflected when it comes to the Mahabharata. So if we are saying that Mahabharata says that whatever is written in in this text is, you will find any, like for sure somewhere you will find it, right? But if you are not finding, or if you're not able to see something in the Mahabharata, it won't be possible to see it somewhere else. So this is categorically, this is mentioned in Adi Parv also, and in the Swargarohan Parva, and in some multiple times it has been mentioned in the Mahabharata itself, that how this has all the variants, all everything is being somehow written in the Mahabharata. And it does not mean just written in the Mahabharata. When I'm saying, it does not mean just pen and paper process, rather than it is speaking about everything, right? So just we have to see it from the right direction. It does not mean we'll just we'll divert, to something which is problematic. We have to see, we have to look at the principles of dharma. We have to see the principle of morality. What kind of morality is important when we are talking about this narrative tradition? Is it discriminatory? Is it something problematic? If yes, we can question to those things also, no doubt. Because again, the tradition itself is all about samvada, right? So this was somehow connected to whatever something I wanted to discuss today. I'm sure that I could make some kind of inputs, and is it fine whatever this I said? Do we have some questions now, or maybe some suggestions we can have, a small interaction we can make?
Wonderful, wonderful session, Pinku. There were lots of comments in the chat box, and I was just so engrossed and intrigued by the retellings that you were discussing. I think one is Krishna Ki Chetavani, and the other is Peter Brook's film. I hope I'm able to watch and read some of these soon. So the two things that have stayed after this session is the ones that you mentioned in the final slide: cultural memory and collective experience. I think that not just defines the Mahabharata and its storytelling traditions, it defines Bharatiya storytelling traditions. The fact that our storytelling traditions ignite a cultural memory and ensure a collective cultural experience for us as Bharatiyas, irrespective of the region that we belong to. So I may be from Gujarat, but if I am able to watch a Pandavani performance or a Yakshagana performance or any other performance from other parts of the country, I'm sure that I'll be able to connect with the story, connect with the characters, and find some resemblance from my own region and from my own tradition. Uh, so thank you so much for both sessions. I want to compliment you for both the sessions, and I do sincerely wish that you continue your research work, your scholarly work in the field of Mahabharata. I've not read Ami Ganatra ji's work, but I've heard a lot about her work, and of course she's very popular in the Indic discourse for her contributions. Hopefully our participants can find some time to check her work on YouTube. Also, I want to compliment Dr. Pinku on making both the sessions very meaningful through the two exercises that he did with all of us. The first was the Google form that you had shared, and second was this exercise where you asked two questions and participants responded, and we got some insights into what they think about the Mahabharata as a story, and the fact that you have brought it in front of us as a living tradition, not just as a story of the past, something that's bygone or something about war, something about only one particular family, but definitely about a living tradition. और ऐसा कहते हैं ना कि मतलब कई बार मैंने ये सुना है कि अगर आप भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा का जो expanse है, it is so vast that probably one lifetime is not enough for us to explore it. तो कई लोग कहते हैं कि अगर आप भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को समझना चाहते हैं तो रामायण और महाभारत को आप पढ़ें, एक्सपीरियंस करें. इट विल गिव यू द एसेंस ऑफ आवर नॉलेज सिस्टम. So I want to extend gratitude to Dr. Pinku for always being affirmative about NLD's invitation, for being on board as a core team member. He's not a guest or an invited expert on this platform. For this session or for this certificate course, he's part of NLD's team, which has executed this course. So many thanks and many congratulations for both these very interesting sessions around the Mahabharata. And I think we can now take some comments. So participants, I request you to please pose in questions. There is a comment by Dr. Vanishri ji. She's referring to a PhD thesis which is written by a seer, Variations of Mahābhārata. If Vanishri ji, there is a link through which we can access this PhD thesis, please let us know. It deals with...
Sure.
Yeah. Dr. Vanishri, you want to come in and say something? Go ahead.
No, ma'am, sorry. Yeah, I just disturbed, I think. No, you said, no, you send some link or something like that, you said. Sure,
Yeah.
I'll send it, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you. Do send it to me so that I can share it in our WhatsApp group.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
this thesis, as Dr. Vanishri has shared, deals with 4 Mahabharata texts: Vedavyasa, Perundevanar, Nanya and Pampa, South Indian Mahabharata. So thank you so much. Shweta ji has also brought our attention to the Thai national epic Ramakien. And of late, of course, I had the good fortune to visit Vietnam. I've not visited Cambodia, but again, it's on my travel list. And we know that these East Asian countries, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand, have preserved these 2 epics, and their traditional performances and retellings of these 2 epics have been quite popular. And we see a lot of videos coming of these performances. My mother, when she visited Cambodia, she specifically shared with me that she saw a retelling of the Ramayana there in the form of a dance performance. Okay, another comment by Dr. Vanishri. There are more than 300 Ramayana in Kannada. Okay, great. We didn't know that. Of course, we know about the multiple versions, but okay, 300 in Kannada. Okay. Then Dr. Kalpesh Parmar ji has also referred us to some works by Bhasa, Duryodhan as a tragic hero, Ajaya, Roll of the Dice by Anand Neelakantan, a story from Kaurava side, Duryodhana as a hero. And the question that he's, probably this is a question, more a comment than a question. When history is written by winners, morality is subjective. Yes, we know the aspect about history is that mostly those who are from the victorious side, they get to decide, define, and finalize what history will be read by the coming generations. But as we see in current attempts, we also see the revisitations and revisions being done to correct distorted history, which was unfortunately the case with post-independent India. Okay, then Yakshagan Bayalata of Karnataka. Okay, that's great. Thank you again, Dr. Vanishri. Yes, I'll come to you, Dr. Kalpesh, in just one moment. Shweta ji is saying that her grandmother used to say, if you don't read the Mahabharata, if you read the Mahabharatam, you don't need to read. It will help you navigate through everything in life. You don't need to read any other thing. Great. That's a gem of wisdom, a pearl of wisdom from your grandmother, Shweta ji. Okay. Yes, Dr. Kalpesh ji, please go ahead with your question.
Good evening, Dr. Pinku sir. It is a very interesting session. Previously, I could not able to just put my questions to you, but today I have time for the same. As a matter of fact, as it is shown that history is always written by the winners, right? Here, when we are talking about the concept of moral, dharma presented during that period, that means we are talking about the period of Mahabharata. It is not seen religion as we are seeing it today. It is what is right and what is not right. That was the particular concept of dharma. That means if you are a warrior, you have to follow the rules and regulations of a warrior. If you are a teacher, you have to follow the rules and regulation of a teacher. That is how it is defined, concept. But right now it is a totally different concept of religion. But as it is said that who decide what is right and what is wrong, from that point of view, if we have any text available from Kaurava side, then it is possible that we have a good type of or a good kind of comparison that who is right and who is wrong. Just to explain this particular point, that history is written by the winners. We have one Upanishad. It is known as Allah Upanishad. If you have known this, this is written during the period of King Akbar. Right? It is available on Internet Archive. It is also available on Wikipedia too. Originally written in Sanskrit. The same Upanishad, Allah Upanishad, right? So in that Akbara voice, Akbar's righteousness and all that things are also praised. So my point is that if winner can take liberty to justify what is right, what is moral, then what about the people who lost? Just to understand this from the point of view that war is between Kaurava and Pandava, but unnecessarily common people, soldiers, they died, right? Entire army of Krishna. Similarly, the different armies, similarly Ghatotkacha, similarly all different people, a lot number of people died in the war, right? But they have nothing to do with the quarrel of Duryodhana or quarrel or with any other person. Directly, they are not engaging any kind of conflict with Duryodhan, but still, just to take a part, they involved into it, and everybody died. A good number of people died, right? So, whom we blame on that?
Dr. Pinku, you are on mute.
Yes. So yes, Kalpeshji, you had a good perspective. You like you are rightly said, because when we are talking morality, it is subjective, no doubt. Yes. So what exactly you want to ask?
Sir, my point is that if we just try to glorify only
Okay,
one
fine. So
perspective,
we are somehow missing out some other
missing.
things
Yes,
as well, right? That is
yes,
your
yes,
concern, right?
yes.
Yes. So that is the reason, if we are talking about all these, we can say that when I'm talking about performances based adaptations, or maybe some other ways of looking at the story, some other narratives. Even you have mentioned a lot of books here, right, in the chat box. So this is the exercise we are making, and even Nidhi madam just rightly said, like we are trying to talk about, kind of distorted history. We have to correct it. So it does not mean we are just correcting in a way that some mainstream corrections we are making. We are trying to look at that how some kind of things were missed out over a period of time, how the story of maybe Ghatotkacha, or how we are having you must be knowing that I'm able to remind one thing, that we have this temple of Hidimba temple in Himachal Pradesh. I'm not sure if
Yes, sir.
yeah, so that is one particular, for example, temple. If we are making a visit there and we are able to discuss the story of that particular temple, right? Or today, if we are talking about the story of maybe Bhil's interpretation of Mahabharata, right? So that is how not just we are discussing, because it is again a very structured way of discussing all these things here at this platform by NLD, and the institution is also involved. So that is a kind of way through which we can see that it is not always that looking at from the mainstream perspective of which is already popular, right? We are not just talking about popular or something which is when I'm saying popular, it does not mean that just a few people that they do have claim over some text, right? What they are saying, this is the only way of looking at it. No, but what we have to do, we have to be very cautious about it. Even in the previous session, when I was having the session on the Katha and the hermeneutical tradition, Madam and Zelam ji has also said that some of other participants have also mentioned it, that we have to be very cautious when we are saying that multiple ways of looking at one thing. And I'm saying multiple, it does not mean when one particular thing is at the higher place than the other one. No, all of them, they do have their own significance, and the way that that significance comes with this particular claim, that every but is having their own way of looking at it, and we have to acknowledge their distinctive nature, right? So if we are talking about, for example, the story where Duryodhan is being considered as a hero, even in Ramayana we have some versions where Ravan is considered to be one of the hero, but that version can have their own way of, like, the complete narrative is in that way. But even in the mainstream, what Mahabharata that we are having today, it does not say that Yudhishthira is the best person to be followed, like Yudhishthira did nothing wrong. It does not mean that. And Duryodhan, whatever he was doing, it is problematic only. No, we do not need a new version to look at it, right? Or new, not just I'm saying new, but something which is lost or which is not being given emphasis in the mainstream, is something that we have to just focus on that. But what we are having today, how we are reading it, even if I'm having the story where Kauravs, Duryodhans are considered as a hero, to what extent I'm able to justify that claim that Yudhishthira is only the villain? Like, we can see at the different way also. But if we are having a text and we are opening up with our viewpoint that no, we have to see the possibilities, we have to see to what extent this principle of dharma is being practiced by either Dharmaraj Yudhishthir or Duryodhan or Shakuni. So at one particular point of time, we have to see very, contextually to all the characters, all the stories, the principle of dharma itself, right? So if we are not able to do that, we'll be in that trap only, right? We'll not able to correct that what has been done wrong in the past, or maybe in the process of innovation, re-innovation, or changes, modifications over a period of time. So that we have to be very careful when we are talking about it. So maybe that can be a way through which we can look at this particular concern. And yes, Kalpeshji, something else you want to add?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a minute, Dr. Kalpesh. I just want to allow Shweta ji to ask her question or share, because she's put something in the chat box, and then we can come back to you. So Shweta ji, do you want to add something to this?
Ma'am, maybe Kalpesh sir, whatever point he said, it is also right, ma'am. At that time, we did not have access to knowledge. People only followed them. The people who have access to knowledge, power, only on winner side. They need not question others, because they know that they will continue living with the people who are winning. Only one perspective was there, because there was no other access to knowledge. They only followed this. Now, as we have access to books, as right now people are questioning, curiosity and everything is there, because we want to know. Like, if we want to judge a person, I want to know all the perspectives, then I want to form knowledge. At that time, maybe this was not there, because we did not have many things to do. We only followed people with this. Right now, people are ready to follow only the person who has knowledge of many things, not only one understanding. Maybe that comes from there. That it was my point, ma'am. Like, maybe it might help or not, but that was my opinion when Kalpesh sir asked this question, or whatever. I think so, that one.
Yeah.
And also,
Thank you.
Pinku
Thank
sir,
you.
I could not answer the question. Even my point was not Duryodhana, it was Dhritarashtra sir, who was misunderstood, and also Satyavati. I could not access the Google form. So that one, sir, Satyavati and Dhritarashtra, according to me.
Interesting.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shweta ji, for adding. All insights and perspectives are very helpful. Yes, I invite Kalpesh ji again and request him to be quick and brief, because we want to close the session in the next 5 to 7 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. I am also saying about the Dhritarashtra that Vichitravirya having two sons, one that is Pandu, second that is Dhritarashtra. Righteously, he was the eldest son, and throne should be gone to him. That is, we need to understand in a first scenario, as per the dynasty concept of king, how king is made. That means eldest son is always be the king. But Dhritarashtra was blind. He could not be made king, and instead of him, Pandu was made king. Right? This is the particular concept. But gradually, destiny has something else for Dhritarashtra and Pandu too. Pandu could not able to continue, and an exception was made. Once it was said in the beginning that a blind person cannot be a king, but they made an exception, and again they made Dhritarashtra as a king, and then Duryodhan and all the peoples are coming afterward. So point is that when he was the eldest son, an exception in the beginning it was said according to rule he could not be a king, but the same rule is changed when Pandu is not able to rule the kingdom. So point my point is the same, that who decides what is right and what is wrong when rules are broken as per the need of time. Thank you.
Yes. So, yeah, Nidhi ma'am, do you want to comment something, or shall I?
Yeah, I'm just kind of I appreciate the perspectives that Dr. Kalpesh and Shweta ji have put forward, and my only brief comment is that this two three comments that I want to make. One is that this is very layered, complex, and nuanced, which is, I think, the very nature of our knowledge repositories. I'm not specifically commenting on the Mahabharata, but I'm commenting on the nature of our knowledge system as against the other knowledge systems around the world, where you may not even have the right freedom and wherewithal to question, criticize or reinterpret. ऐसे है ना बहुत सारे सिस्टम्स इस दुनिया में जहां पे जो लिख दिया है वो पत्थर की लकीर है, आप क्वेश्चन नहीं कर सकते. So I think I'm appreciating this fact that okay, our since Dr. Pinku spoke of retellings and multiple traditions, I look at it from an appreciative perspective that okay, if one narrative has the winner's perspective, then maybe there are so many other narratives which have the other perspectives. That is one point. Second is, I always feel that when we comment on our scriptures, epics, and our knowledge repositories, we must, as Dr. Pinku also said, we have to contextualize and look at the fact that we are commenting on it sitting in a very different time period, judging the actions of these characters, some of whom we consider to be godly and divine, sitting in a world which has very different moral standards than what were present at that time. So, for example, Dr. Kalpesh spoke of कि ये जो युद्ध में जिनकी गलती नहीं थी, वो जिनका कोई लेना देना नहीं था, वो भी इन्वॉल्व हो गए, उनका भी नुकसान हुआ. I think isn't that something that we continue to see even today? There are 2 or 3 wars raging at different regions in the whole world, and there are innocent people who have nothing to do with these wars. They are the sufferers of the consequences of these wars. So that's the second point. The third point is that I still maybe there's some disagreement that I have with Shweta ji and Kalpesh ji in this regard, that this aspect of questioning and multiple perspectives, I don't think that it is new or recent, has come to us only recently or in recent history. I think it is a character of our knowledge system. If we did not question, if we did not encourage multiple perspectives, तो ये अलग-अलग retellings होते ही नहीं. ये अलग-अलग retellings का scope, freedom हमको मिलता ही नहीं. For example, when I visited a library in the tribal district, which is very close to where I stay and where I did some field work, उस community का रामायण महाभारत का version है, अवेलेबल है, आप उसको एक्सेस कर सकते हैं. सो द फैक्ट दैट वो है, एग्जिस्ट करता है, एंड वी कैन स्टडी, क्रिटिसाइज, इवैल्यूएट, बी सब्जेक्टिव, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, it means that there was scope of multiple perspectives questioning even then, not just now. So I don't think that, at least I would not take this moral high ground that sorry if I'm using an incorrect word here, but I would not like to take this moral high ground that this perspective about questioning and multiplicity or has come with access, as Shweta ji was trying to put forth. I appreciate what she's saying, but I have a slight disagreement. And the last point that I would like to make is that history, where victors are writing their own versions, is not something unique to Bharatiya tradition. I mean, that happens everywhere across the world, where the person who wins the war, or one who has captured power, or one who has captured resources, and one who has control over the narrative, does put it forward, does put that forward. But that what is unique about our tradition is that despite having this victor's version that we are discussing, the other versions are not lost. They still continue to sustain, thrive somewhere. The loser's version, the so-called lost version, is also being celebrated, as we see in the worship of Ravan, or in the worship of characters who have been portrayed in a unidimensional way in the mainstream. So I think again we are getting trapped, and again I'm repeating that this is strictly my opinion. We are getting trapped in evaluating our knowledge system from a Western lens, because all of these concepts that are coming to us are not from a Bharatiya lens, they are from a Western lens. This is what I think, and I know that this can get us entangled into a series of discussions. But yeah, I will give the last word to Kalpesh ji.
Thank you, ma'am. It is quite interesting. But what we are doing today in the name of post-colonial study, right? Deconstruction theory, or as we are saying that different critics from the eastern side, we know them as Orientals. They are rejecting the concept which was written by the Western people, right? Right, we are doing that today. So
Correct.
if we try to judge the same concept from the winner's point of view, that means they were the winner and they had written something, and we are deconstructing their concept of wording. So if we are doing for our own culture, why it is so much so offensive, ma'am?
So, sorry, I didn't get the last part of your question, Kalpesh
Why
ji.
we are so much offensive, ma'am, when we are doing
About
the same about our own traditions?
Okay.
एक मिनट, मैं इसको ना थोड़ा समझ नहीं पा रही हूँ.
मतलब मुझे जहां तक लग रहा है इनका ये कहना है कि when it comes to criticize or question the problems associated to the Western notions. So if within India, if we are having some problems to our own problems, so why we are becoming so offensive? मतलब the same action we are, so this is something, मतलब वो dilemma में है शायद, मेरे को लग रहा है वो भी.
हाँ, okay. I got you, Kalpesh ji. I don't, sorry, again, I have to disagree that I don't think we are becoming offensive. Maybe there is a section which thinks that these things cannot be touched, cannot be critiqued, cannot be relooked. If you're talking about that section of people, I agree that yes, there is a section of people which gets offended, or whose sensibilities are very fragile when it comes to these kind of retellings and reinterpretations. But then there is also a section of people which feels that in so many of these retellings there is also an attempt to distort. Maybe they fear this distortion. They fear that the character and attribute that is core, that is the dharmic attribute, is snatched away, and then somebody else will culturally appropriate. There is also this section. I totally agree with the observation that you have made about Orientalists and post-colonial studies. That has also gotten us into a trap where we were trained to look at our own text from a Western lens. If that can be criticized, what you're saying is definitely that can also be criticized. What I am trying to bring a little attention Two is the fact that we must understand the nature of the dynamic and fluid nature of our knowledge repositories, and acknowledge that there are some limitations, there are some problems, but we also have ways and scope to address it, and not totally discard and not totally dismiss it as some people seem to be doing.
Yeah,
That is
but
my larger point. Again,
I
this is
want
a
to
larger point.
I want to add one more thing here, ma'am. Matlab, Kalpesh ji, what exactly Nidhi ma'am is also trying to say, and what even I wanted to have through my interaction in today's session also, that multiplicity, what I'm saying now, that beauty of acknowledging the distinctive nature, allowing the dissent, allowing different variations, that is the very core, maybe we can say the very essential feature of Indic tradition itself. So if some people, as madam has said, like even you even said that some people are taking it very offensive, right? If we are saying that we are questioning our own tradition, so Indic tradition is not against it. That is the beauty. That is why we are having multiple retellings. That is why we are having different form of Mahabharata. That is why we are having this story, or maybe something from the Duryodhan side, or maybe something from the Draupadi side, or we do have all the variations, right? So what is the reason, where it comes from, like what madam is trying to say in the West, what is happening, that is the problem. So not exactly West we are saying, but yeah, in most of the tradition this is the problem.
Yeah, but
Right.
just one quick point, and I really thank Kalpesh ji for bringing all these aspects. And Kalpesh ji, the fact that we are talking and discussing so nicely, politely, in a civil manner, we are living the Indic tradition. What I also sometimes I don't even blame the West. See, the West can be a very easy punching bag, but I also appreciate that Western scholars, especially Indologists, made the effort to study our text. They made
Yes,
the effort
right,
to
right.
learn our languages. वो हम भी
Correct,
कर सकते थे, वो
correct,
हमने
correct.
नहीं किया, इसलिए किसी और ने आकर वो पूरा उसको ओरिएंटल ट्रेडिशन में उसको कैप्चर कर लिया.
बिल्कुल.
But I think we should have owned up our own knowledge system, which we didn't do. So there is just a slight disagreement that I was referring to, and I am. Yeah, yes, Zalem, I'm coming to you. Just hold on for 15 seconds. This is getting very interesting, and I'm glad that Shweta ji and Kalpesh ji have raised these aspects. So, I think we also need. Sorry, I completely forgot what I was trying to say, but the larger point that we're trying to make is that there is scope for improvements, criticisms, addressing limitations. That is the essence of the Indic tradition, and we are not uh, absolutely encouraging a viewpoint where we want some kind of homogeneity of perspectives or some kind of uniformity. In fact, I understand where Kalpesh ji is coming from, कि सब कुछ glorious था, अच्छा था, उन्होंने जो लिखा वो सही है. ऐसा तो हमें करना ही नहीं चाहिए. हमें क्वेश्चन करते रहना चाहिए, पढ़ते रहना चाहिए, बात करते रहना चाहिए. माय मेन पॉइंट इज, उसमें हमें धार्मिक कोर को हिलाना नहीं चाहिए. वो ही मेरा मेन पॉइंट था. कल्पेश जी, आई होप दैट ये
Yes, ma'am.
डिस्कशन से आपको
But
थोड़ा सा वो हुआ.
sure, madam. But what I understood now, one point, nowadays we are living political religion, not the religion. If we are living the religion,
I'm again
then
sorry, again I don't agree
this is
with you.
what I should understand. Because what my point is, ma'am,
I got you.
a person from political background, there is a great incident from Gurukul system, that if you want to enter as a king in a Gurukul, you are not permitted at all. You have to give up all your weapons, and you have to enter just as a common person. Then and then you have access to the Gurukul. That was the tradition. But it is totally changed today. If we are talking about, we want IKS, Indian Knowledge System, right? So political intervention should be, as if you want truly to follow. That means in Gurukul, no king is allowed. No king is allowed as a king. If you want to come as a person seeking knowledge, he is welcome.
Yeah, true.
Right. But
True.
nowadays it is not the same way. We are
Yeah.
revitalizing IKS. then we have to follow that rules too, ma'am. This is what my point is after all. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Kalpesh ji, quick response. I can't let you go without responding. So you are right that in terms of revitalizing IKS, we have to go back to the core and essential values. Truly right. And it's quite unfortunate that we are in a very different system, in a different world, in a different time period where all these values are being sacrificed or they are perishing. That's one. सो आई अग्री कि अगर हमें ट्रूली वो नॉलेज सिस्टम का ग्लोरी वापस लाना है तो उस समय के वैल्यूज को भी हमें फॉलो करना चाहिए, जो आज नहीं हो रहा है. लेट्स एक्सेप्ट इट. देयर इज डेकाडेंस ऑफ वैल्यूज, देयर इज डेकाडेंस इन धर्म, राइट. 25% ही धर्म बचा है, हम कलयुग में है. सो one of my gurus, Dr. Deepti ma'am, shared this insight with me a few days ago. उन्होंने कहा कि अगर आप कलयुग में जन्मे हो बट सतयुग के धर्म और मॉरल्स फॉलो कर रहे हो तो आप यू विल be very dukhi, you will be sorrowful and you'll struggle. So maybe that's what we are experiencing. We are pained. Okay. Second, political religion is such a vast domain. I wish we had the time to explore this, but I would like to connect with you on a one-to-one basis to talk about this. I think political religion is not a unilateral phenomenon. It is in response to something. And we need to understand why it emerged in the Indian context and what it is responding to. So if we understand the context and history of the rise of political religion and the forces that it is responding to, then we understand why we are talking about political religion. But I will limit my response to this and I will humbly close this discussion here. And last word to Zelam. I'm sorry, Swayam ji, आपका जो question है वो copy paste करके मैं पिंकू सर को भेज देती हूँ, वो आपको respond कर देंगे. Because हमें close करना है, 8:17 हो गए हैं. Okay.
It's not a question actually. It's kind of statement, but
Okay, I saw it as a question.
Mark. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I thought I saw 3 questions, but yeah, I'll let Pinku reflect on it and he will do so. Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Shweta
even
ji
I have
also-
learnt a point. Thank you, ma'am. I've posted it also.
Yeah. I read it. The learning, understanding, questioning. Okay. Yeah. I did read your point. Zelam, quickly, Zelam. Sorry, I have to play the evil role of the moderator and exercise my power and brutally use my force with all of you.
No problem. I just wanted to share here that it stirred within me certain important elements of Indian knowledge system. When we talk about the priorities of telling a story and retelling a story, we actually choose to spreading the knowledge where we have learned or absorbed from the different varieties of stories that are there in our life, or we have read somewhere with a reference of it, right? But understanding such big granth, I think there has to be an understanding from our own responsibility and self duty that, if we talk about Gangaji in Mahabharata, the role she played, we must also understand the reasoning behind it. Where is it coming from? Which is not there in while it is shown in the television part, or and there has to be a time frame also. तो वो और कुछ नहीं बता सकते. जैसे for example, we know Durvasa ji for his rage, but where it has come from. We know Parshuram ji, how he he is not that much composed when मतलब उनका गुस्सा है, but उनका गुस्सा क्षत्रियों के लिए क्यों है? तो ये सब हमारे ग्रंथों में ऑलरेडी है, बट we never go and fall back and read all those things as a part of reasoning to understand the character. Second important thing that I have noticed is दुर्योधन, युधिष्ठिर, ये सारे कैरेक्टर्स के तौर पे हमको पर्सोनिफाई करके बताए गए हैं, बट ये सारे इन द वेरी फर्स्ट प्लेस दे आर ऑल सोच, एक ऐसी सोच जिसको हमें ये बताया जाता है कि उसको हम whether we should follow it or not follow it. That is the only thing they have used the human beings. So it is not at all मतलब उसको strengthen करके बोलना है, उसको glorify करके बोलना है. We just need to understand that if the villain is shown very stronger than the protagonist, we need to understand where this strength is coming from, and we need to value अगर विलन ही नहीं होगा तो फिर प्रोटैगोनिस्ट जो है उसका वैल्यू कौन करेगा. सो वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड द पर्सपेक्टिव. इट इज ऑल सोच. दुर्योधन एक सोच है, विदुर एक सोच है. तो ये सारी चीजें ध्यान में रख के देन वी हैव टू परसीव what is being brought to us, and we need to constantly upgrade our understanding through a lot of reading regarding all these characters. लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं उनकी शुरुआत कहीं ना कहीं से तो हुई है जो हमें ये सब नहीं बताते. बट वी नीड टू रीच आउट टू दोज ग्रंथ और ऐसे पाठ्य पुस्तक जहां पर हमें उनकी बिगनिंग भी समझ में आएगी, सो दैट उनका ये बिहेवियर समझ में आएगा कि इसका बैकअप क्या है, क्यों ये ऐसे बिहेव कर रहा है. देयर हैज टू बी अ रीजनिंग to get a shape a perspective about that particular character. But that's it, ma'am. I'm done.
Yes, ma'am, it resonates with the story of the wolves, ma'am. I heard, but then I questioned it. Everyone said that there are two wolves, the black and the white wolves. So which one is powerful? As ma'am said, the thought. But why only black and white wolves? There is gray wolf, red and purple, any color we choose. So any thought. That was I think I could connect with it. Everything is thought. Like why only two? There is three. There is four. So which thought are you going to make it powerful? And but you have to have the knowledge of the other ones also, other colors too. Maybe am I right, Zelam ma'am?
Yes, absolutely
Yes,
correct.
perfect. Or I guess maybe before closing it, this is what we are saying in Indian knowledge system. We do not have just binaries. We do not have just two characters. We have multiple characters. In Mahabharata, we have multiple things. If we are talking about the objective of human life, Purushartha, we do have 4 different Purusharthas. Everywhere we are not just restricting ourselves to 1 or 2 things, right? We are not just making always 2 contrasting values fighting with each other. We have to see the context. जब हम context की बात करते हैं, हमारे पास और बहुत सारे ऐसे characters आ जाते हैं, तो हमको उनको पढ़ना पड़ता है. उनको पढ़ेंगे तो उनकी stories देखनी पड़ेंगी. तो वो फिर इतिहास कि एक टाइम में ऐसा हुआ था, तो वो जब हम पढ़ते हैं तो हम फिर वो खो जाएंगे, और जब पढ़ेंगे तभी पता लगेगा कि what are the possible ways of looking at धर्म कैसे बनाए, इंडिक नॉलेज का मतलब है क्या. So that is very much important. I guess now,
Yes.
ma'am, you can have your closing
Yes.
remarks. Thank you so much. So all the
But
This
one
is
more
where
thing.
the questionings or
Yes,
wolves came
Kalpesh ji,
from.
very quickly. Very quickly,
Yes, ma'am.
Kalpesh ji.
I just add to Sweta ma'am's that nowadays it is not the villain terminology we use. Nowadays we are using fallen hero for villain. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Anti-hero. Yes, sir. Thank you.
True.
Yes, sir. This
So,
is where we know where the wolves came from. Like even we are questioning why those wolves. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. No further disrupting, ma'am. You can.
no, it's okay. We are here to exchange ideas and thoughts and learn from each other. And I truly believe that the purpose of the session facilitated by Dr. Pinku today, it was truly, we have truly accomplished the purpose by delving into this extended discussion. So I congratulate Dr. Pinku for such a wonderful session, and to all our participants who contributed to the chat box and then who participated actively in the discussion. Kalpesh ji, Shweta ji, Vanishri ji, Swayam ji, Suman ji, Satish ji, and of course Zelam, who also added her wisdom to this discussion. So thank you for the same. And I just want all of us to part with this message that we may continue to have differing opinions, but we must come together in the dharmic fold and we must continue to do our dharma. तो आज कितनी भी पीड़ादायक सिचुएशन हो, कितने भी हमारे पास डिसोनेंस हो, डायलेमा हो, हमें अपना धर्म, अपना कर्तव्य निभाना है. इस संदेश के साथ, इस मैसेज के साथ, let's close today's session. Thank you once again, Pinku, and we meet for tomorrow's session, 6:30 p.m. Namaste.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So
Thank
let
you.
me
Thank you,
stop
ma'am.
the recording. Just a moment, Zelam. Let me stop the recording.